If you're a business owner or content creator and you're interested in building long-term relationships with customers and employees through useful video photography and live streaming content, this episode is for you. Today we're talking to Juma Bannister. Juma is a husband, father, and content creator. In 2007, he became the first Trinidadian and first Caribbean-born, Caribbean-based photographer to be accepted into the Wedding Photojournalist Association. Juma is also a creative director at Relate Studios in Trinidad and Tobago. Relate is a strategic marketing and production company that helps Caribbean businesses build long-term relationships with customers and employees using useful video photography and live streaming content. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
As I'm excited to be here, Lyndon. Very, very excited actually. Very excited actually. I've taken a bit of a break from social media, and this is my after kind of like 2 months foray back into talking about things on platforms, social media platforms, including like podcasts. And it's good to be back with somebody like you, who I know will take care of me in this interview.
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to start with this question, but I want to appreciate something that I have neglected for a very long time.
Yeah.
Why is it important to network?
How you build your business ultimately is through a relationship. I always talk to my kids about the fact that you go into environments and you meet people, but then those people are people who in the future you could possibly help and could possibly help you. And not so much that you're going in with a selfish intention, but what you're doing is you're trying to find ways to create synergy and to collaborate so that both people can go further, or that both groups can go further, or that organizations can go further. And so it's important to network because you discover strengths in people that you don't have. You find a way to fill the gaps that you have. You find a way to supplement your weaknesses, and you also find ways that you could help people and supplement their strengths or fill their gaps as well. And so you discover a ton of new things by just collaborating, by building relationship, and by connecting with other people. And I think that's why it's important to network, because in networking, that's how you find these gems. You find gems of people. And it's really about the people. It's about relationships and building that over the long term. And if you network, that is what you can get out of it. You can get tremendous benefit out of it.
We joined here by Farmer Harry, who is sitting down on the outside. And I think about it is through a network that I met Farmer Harry and, Mr. Bat, you're making connections and what ultimately came out of that. So I appreciate you kind of clarifying my own vision and seeing the need for it out there. You got your first camera in 2003.
Yes.
Tell me about that camera and the journey that would lead to you becoming a wedding photographer.
That camera was a 3 megapixel Canon A10, if I remember. I didn't have money to pay for it. My friend had it, and she said, this thing too complex. Come take it off my hands. And I said, of course. I said, well, I don't have all the money. And she said, that's fine. Pay me part now, pay me part later. And so I didn't have a car at the time. I was in Belmont. I traveled from Belmont to Marabella to get this camera and collect it. And she gave it to me, and I only was able to pay her a year later. And so what happened is that inside that process of having that camera for that first year, I took pictures of everything possible. And so that started me on my journey to discovering the things that I liked and I didn't like. And so I would suggest that to anybody who's doing photography. At the beginning, you don't really discriminate. You take pictures of whatever you feel is comfortable for you, whatever you feel will get you excited about developing the thing. And over time, then you could hone in and you can narrow down what you want to take pictures of. Weddings became a thing after my camera died. I got married in 2005, and my camera died on my wedding day because by that time I'd bought another Canon S1 IS. And I remember during the reception, the guy was like, hey, it's not working. And it just became a dud, basically. It became a paperweight. Later on that year, my friend who I went to school with, Jason Reed, he's a good dude. He bought this camera and he came to my house because he had left the country and come back. And he walked in my gate with this thing around his neck, this black, shiny, new piece of equipment. And I'm like, what is this? And he said, oh, this is an Nikon. I can't remember what model it was, but I took it and I held it and I said, I have to get one of these. I have to get a camera like this. And then the next hurdle is that we had just got married and we had very little to no money. And I had to go convince my wife that, listen, I think this is a thing. Right, darling? I said, I think this might be a thing. I think we had like $5,000 in the bank. Can we take our last bit of money and buy this camera? And she was like, well, if you think it's a thing, and this is like fresh, we only married a few months.
But you're already doing wedding photography at this point in time?
I have not shot a wedding in my life at this point. And this is in 2005, in December of 2005. And she says, okay, go ahead and buy it. Ordered the camera, got it. And in February of 2006 is when I got my very first wedding gig. A friend of mine was getting married and his father approached me and said, listen, I know you're into photography. You've been practicing for the last how much years? And at least that's what I thought I was doing, practicing. And he said, can you shoot my son's wedding for me? And I said, absolutely. And at that time I went and I did a ton of research. David Lehigh, David's film view in Port of Spain recently passed away, I believe. He was one of the people who we used to go to his shop and have discussions with him about photography. I used to go to John Dean. We used to walk down Rising Road and stop up at his shop. And I went to him and said, I have this wedding to shoot, what to do? And he gave me some advice and he told me what to do. And in 2006, shot that very first wedding. And if you are eagle-eyed and you go to our wedding Facebook page, that very first wedding is still on the wedding Facebook page right now. After all these years, it still stands up. So that's how I got started in shooting weddings with that very first one in 2006.
How were you able to connect with the first client that is a stranger? What did that networking process look like for you?
At the time, I was working as a user interface designer, web designer in general at a technology company, a programming software company. Because I had this skill that I developed that I could build websites, I decided, well, I have all these images from all the last couple of years, and let me create a website and let me start to put it out there. Facebook was a thing at the time. It was becoming a thing. So people were getting on Facebook and they would see the stuff. And then I would get other friends who would want me to shoot their wedding. And then I can't remember who was the very first client, but I am almost certain that person would have connected with me through Facebook or something like that. And I got that very first client. When that happened, it was like, oh, we could actually get work from social media. I was like, oh, this is a thing. And so I decided to double down on it. So I created a website and a blog, and I connected the website to the social media so that when it posts, I would repost it on social media. And that began to gain traction. And we started to get very specific about how we would put the blog posts out there and the quality of it. And if it's one thing I've developed and I'm very good at, which I would say now, and my business partner always tells me this, is that I'm very good at putting together portfolios, like in terms of what images you should show and what you should not show. Over that time of doing that, what happened is that more and more people began to find us online. And if you were to search wedding photographer Trinidad, we would pop up. We'll always be on the first page, sometimes number 1, sometimes number 2. And it went that way for a number of years. People outside of Trinidad and Tobago started to find us and started to ask us to come to different islands to do weddings. We began to go to different Caribbean islands, St. Thomas, Anguilla. Like when I left my job, the very first wedding that I shot after I left my job in 2008 was a wedding in Anguilla. My wife and I, we flew out to that wedding. I shot it, and I'm still friends with the people to this day. And they're from Massachusetts. They're from Boston, Massachusetts. They were just foreigners who just happened to be going to Anguilla and who happened to research Caribbean wedding photographers. And they found my website and it's like, this guy is good. Let's contact him. Sent me an email. We had back and forth. We negotiated the contract. And then we actually went to flew across and shot the wedding. And there's a story about that. I actually made a video about that, like a short or TikTok about how that went. You know,
all these questions I wanted to be in line with, people who listen and they have a small business. They're wondering if, how to connect with people more. Hold on 1 second. I want to invite Farmer Harry. Farmer Harry, if you're interested, you could come grab a cup of coffee. I wouldn't be able to stop, but you could join us, brother. It would be lovely to have you in the studio here.
Farmer Harry, the limes man.
This is one of your customers
This
here.
is
You know?
one of your customers.
This is Juma who ordered some limes
you
and I
good?
had to deliver it.
Yeah. I you know, so on kind of.
Yeah, so you could have a coffee in the background. You could sit down, sir, and we could chat some more. Do small businesses need a website, or is Facebook fine for them?
Website, all the way. You need a website because a website is a space that you control and manage. It's your space that you could decide on how you want to present content there. Then you're able to be found much easier because then you could control. And I don't want to get too complex, but when you're talking about SEO and search engine optimization, you can optimize for that. You can connect that to your social media efforts. You can send people back to the place where they can get more information, where they can actually contact you directly. So I think a website is very, very important. Social media is a portal to who you are. People get a sense of what you offer, how you can help when they look at your videos, and then they go back to find out more. There's a repository about who you are on your website. Most small businesses should invest in at least like a one-pager that talks about who they are, the services that they offer, how you can contact them. At the very least.
I'm so happy that we're joined by Farmer Harry here because we have a real world scenario where Farmer Harry has used video. We work together and he has recently passed 1,000 subscribers. He has YouTube videos. He has a solid community going.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, Farmer Harry. Farmer Harry on YouTube, man, because he's doing videos right now. He has a service that he's offering where he's going by people and helping them create a garden and he's getting content out of it.
Really?
So yeah, fantastic work, Farmer Harry doing, man. If it is that I am selling cakes, Kimberly does cakes. She's on Facebook, she's on TikTok posting videos. How important is it for small businesses like these examples that we use in here to have? At what stage would you say that, hey, this company is ready for a website? Farmer Harry boy, you're doing great with video, but you need your own space. Is there some kind of metric that you're using that you could help me understand a little bit more to say this investment is worth it?
Definitely, you don't want to spend money you don't have unless your product is an e-commerce product where you have to have a website to sell it. If you're getting good on-the-ground traction in terms of word of mouth and direct contact, you could take the approach of the website a little slower. However, once you get to the point where people are, the word is spreading about you and you want to take yourself into new markets and you want to have a place where people can discover you, definitely that's the time when you want to get a website. Especially if you're bringing in money, you have to invest in your marketing. For example, I think it was earlier this year, maybe last year. Remember when all of these platforms went down altogether? I think Facebook went down, Instagram went down. People went crazy. And the people who lost business were the people who did not have any other way for people to contact them other than their social media. Why their website could go down, most hosts boast 99.9% uptime and nothing is guaranteed. Let me give you another example. There's a guy, a Facebook friend of mine. He was on Facebook and he had made a statement. No, it was a tongue-in-cheek statement. He had said like something like men are dogs or something like that, right? And Facebook was like, yeah, ban. Just banned him, right? I don't know if he got reported or whatever, but he got banned. No discussion, no warning, just banned, right? And it took a while for him to get back on the platform. So imagine you are somebody who is, your entire business is based on social media. And then Facebook decides, well, we're not supporting pages anymore. Or we're not going to allow people to sell on this platform anymore. Or you have to pay some exorbitant amount in order for you to be on this. They just decide that executively. You as a small business owner have no control over what can happen to your business if you're dependent upon somebody else's platform. It's very important that you have a presence established somewhere else where you can speak to the people you need to speak to. And that will apply for, as most people. There are some people who are exception to the rule. There are some people whose models are built on social media in such a way that is very hard to kill their business even though. But that is people who are mature in a particular system, mature in how they use their social media. And even if you don't have a full website, you may just want to have a landing page. A landing page that is designed to sell the product that you're selling. So you don't need to have all this sort of drama. Just one page that people land on, as a buy button, has an explanation. You do all the work on social media, putting the content out there, and they just go to that page to buy and to connect with you.
you push this idea of video. We haven't even started talking about Relate Studios. I am going to put the links in the show notes. I really want to congratulate you all on the job. You mentioned the portfolio. I was able to find some of those wedding portfolios and whatnot. Fantastic work that you all are doing. So I encourage folks to take a look at your LinkedIn profile and the different websites that we would see. Here's my scenario. I also have a quite a decent reach on YouTube, Facebook, different platforms. But I realize how terrible I am at selling things. I have, let me say, for instance, Farmer Harry has sold more limes than me in the last, that I have sold books in my lifetime. And I have a serious, and I'm trying to figure out what I am doing wrong. And I'm asking this question again on behalf of businesses that you feel like, hey, I have a presence.
Right.
I have videos that I'm putting out there, but somehow
right.
I'm not connecting in terms of a sale. I don't know if it is that I'm not mentioning my products that I have, because I'm always, as I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, I'm usually reluctant to network. A lot of people have problems with reach. I wouldn't say that I have a problem with reach through video. But how am I not translating it? Is it that I just have a product that people rather limes than a book? When you look at Facebook pages, when you look at YouTube channels, that you would see companies are getting wrong in terms of connecting with their customers.
I'm going to steal something from a podcast that I love, a guy, a social media personality, and I love to explain this, and then I will say it in my own way thereafter. There's a guy called Jay Akunzo who has a podcast called Unthinkable, and he talks about reach versus resonance. One part of it is like you arrive at the house. The other part of it is like you are invited in and you have a conversation and people get to know you. So when you talk about social media, the purpose of content, my perspective on the purpose of content is to build a relationship. That's the purpose of content. People often say content is king, but I don't necessarily agree with that. Content is very good, but really relationship is king. You could have content that gets far, that gets seen, and it does not resonate with people. It does not encourage them to come back. It does not encourage them to make a decision or to, it's not useful to them. It's not helpful to them. It doesn't change their state of life. It doesn't fill a knowledge gap. It doesn't allow them to improve it doesn't address their needs or it doesn't address any pain. And so therefore, they are not interested in continuing to connect with you. What's very important when we think about creating content is that there has to be a particular approach to it before you create the content. So you're not just trying to say, I have this for sale, but there's an approach you could take. What I will do is I will share with you like the 5 things you need to know before you create content on social media. I'll share those things with you, which will kind of give a platform for it. And maybe I could touch on like a bit of the useful content framework. 5 things that you need to know before you create content on social media. The first thing is like, who am I? You have to ask the question, well, who am I? And that refers to your values. What are the intangible things that drive your decision making? What do you believe in? How do you carry about yourself? What are the things you stand for? Very important. Who am I? Inside of who am I, you want to talk about your expertise. What are you good at? What do you actually do? What's the thing that people will buy from you? And you want to think about your story. How did I get here? What was the journey like? And if you start off in this and you know those 3 things, then you're able to now create a platform for sharing your content and sharing yourself with the world. The who am I? And then the second thing is, what do I want to be known for? Everybody wants to be known, should want to be known for a specific thing. Not 20 things, not 30 things, just 1 or 2 things. The best people are known for one type of thing. And if you get known for that one thing, then people can come to you for that one thing. And therefore, they know when they have this issue, you are the guy to solve the problem. You are the lady to solve the problem. You are the person to solve the problem. So you put that out there. You generally focus on one thing. What do I want to be known for? So I meet Lyndon and I have a friend and I want to tell people how they should know Lyndon. I can say one sentence about Lyndon that describes what he does for me, or the thing that he does that is useful to them. So for example, if I were to say, I have this family lime and they really love lime juice and they need to make it, but I know Farmer Harry. Farmer Harry is a man, he has limes, right? So I know what he's known for to me is the lime man, right? I know, Trinidadians are very reductive, the gypsum man. They tend to put man after everything and describe the woodworking man, the whatever. And Trinidadians want to simplify, say simplify it. Just now, when you were talking, that Harry is not only a lime man, but he's also a ginger man. So I just discovered that just now. So now if I want ginger, he's in my brain now as somebody. So that's what he's getting known for. And the more he puts that out into the world, he gets known for that. So people connect with that thing. And so when they're sharing with other people in their network about who they can go for these things, his name will pop up inside of that space. So who am I? What I want to be known for? And the third thing is, who am I talking to? Who are the people that will buy from me? Who are the people who will support my business? Who are the people who I can connect with, who can add value to my business, and who I can add value to them? Excuse me. And who I can add value to them. So you have to define who those people are and discover who those people are. And if you discover who those people are, then you know who you're talking to, and it can be very specific about the things that you're saying. So let's go over again. Who am I? What I want to be known for? Who am I talking to? Fourth thing is, how does what I am saying benefit those people who I'm talking to? How is their life going to improve when they hear this content that I'm making? How are they going to benefit from it? Will it be that they have a car that is running badly, and I'm somebody who is a mechanic specializing in, so like I found this guy who specializes in hybrid vehicles, and he's sharing content on YouTube, and he is very good content. The guy is in Trinidad and Tobago. And I found this guy, I was like, this guy's amazing. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's demonstrating how the thing works. He's tearing down systems. He's explaining. And I know this guy, this is the hybrid guy, and how he's helping me is by making me more aware of how my car works. And so if I have a problem, and I did have a problem recently, and I called him up, and he was saying, yeah, and he's trying to solve the problem over the phone. I have not paid this guy a cent. He's trying to solve this problem over the phone. And so that's how he benefits me. I know him as a hybrid guy. He knows his values. He knows he's talking to people like me who have hybrid vehicles, and therefore his content now benefits me. And the last thing you have to know, this one comes at the end, but it really is very important. What are my long-term goals? Where am I going with this business? Where do I want this business to be in 10 years? What's the path I want to take? What's the actual outcome that I want to happen in building this business? And so if you have a sense of where you want to go, then you can take the tactical steps to get there. So you don't get off course. You don't get off course. You're heading towards, this is where I feel the business should be in this time frame. I will only take steps in the direction that takes me there. And obviously that big vision will clarify more and will change, and it will crystallize more as you go along, and you'll make tweaks and adjustments. But having that at the beginning gives you a North Star, something you can move towards, you can head towards, and gives you a sense of, I'm doing this to accomplish this particular goal. And so if you have those 5 things in your mind and you clarify those 5 things before you start creating content then becomes very, very easy, because you have this thing in your head that gives you a framework as to how you want to put stuff out there. So then you wouldn't do 2 videos about farming and limes and stuff like that, and then you'll do 1 video which is like picking up rocks on the beach and finding the shiny rocks. It will be opposed to the who am I, it'll be opposed to what I want to be known for, it'll be opposed to who am I talking to, it'll be opposed to how it can benefit them, and it'll be opposed to your long-term goals. And if your content is opposed to all those 5 things, you know you're off track. But if your content is in line with those things, you know you're heading in the right direction. And so you'll get the people that will resonate with. And so you build that relationship over a long period of time.
You have this trend of thought where it is, hey, the more frequently you post on social media is the better for you. So, for instance, people along the way, they've become interested in Farmer Harry. He's known for limes. He's known for farming. Right. Sticking with that example, would it be really harmful to kind of venture out of your area every now and then and say, well, hey, here's a video of me picking up rocks at Tyrico Beach. So when does that become a issue? I mean, how often can I stray from my long-term goals? And I agree with everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
But what has been my experience in terms of creating videos is that I realize that the more I experiment, is kind of like venting out there and finding successes. So if I had kind of stuck to, well, I just into news, I do in Redwall News, I would have never made a video with Farmer Harry.
Right.
So how do you balance and say every now and then experiment with your content? What's your thoughts on experimentation and venting outside a little bit? And I'm well aware that we're talking about a kind of get started framework here, and then
Yes.
even a guiding principle as time goes by. So, what's your thoughts on, for instance, you making content about making content?
Yes.
Have you boxed yourself in a little too much? Is there more things that you would like to experiment with, but then you say, well, hey, you know, I'm known as this guy. Let me stick to that one thing. People will come to
Yes.
me for that.
Okay, so I am big on experimentation. I am massive on experimentation. My philosophy is that you put your hands in anything and you massage it and you feel around until you find your way, right? But when you start to find your way and you start to find things that work, you double down on those things and you start to build that thing out, right? It takes a long time to fine-tune things. Initial ideas are plentiful and they are always coming. So you're always going to have an idea for something new. What people have difficulty with is building out like core ideas or core things. That difficulty sticking with that. And part of that is the burden of the creative. Creatives want to create stuff. And sometimes creating something new is more exciting than doing the same thing over and over again. But generally, success is attributed to doing the same boring thing over and over again for a long period of time. Generally, that's what produces success. And so you can create new things within the context of the framework. Try to find new ways to do it. It doesn't always have to be the same. And you could also include personal content that is in alignment with who am I, your values. So if you have family and you want to include your personal content inside of your general content that is specific to something, that is fine. You can do that. And but what you don't want to do is you don't want to create a disparate stream of content that clashes with the message that you're trying to communicate. And so Farmer Harry getting into different types of gardening will probably still be in alignment with who he wants to be known for. And he could pass that and he could decide, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with that. But if Farmer Harry were to start a completely new enterprise, like for example, if Farmer Harry were to decide, well, I am somebody who's going to start to do, woodwork, right? Right, okay. So if Farmer Harry wants to do woodworking, right? What some people try to do is try to do the woodworking farmer now. So yeah, woodworking farmer. That may not work. I'm yet to see somebody who has joined two things like that and it build over a period of time. And if you serve two masters, you're going to love one and neglect the other. Ultimately, that's what happens because there's only one of you. You have to put energy into building something. It takes a long time to stabilize and build something. And if you're the primary person inside of the business, it will take you to guide and to shape what that looks like. The nice thing about it is that if you have the who am I part locked down, then you could basically start any business and infuse the values into that business. But then the problem is that what you want to be known for will be different out there. And so while you could integrate personal content and some new things and you could explore new ways, the theme around the content, the way in which you present yourself to the world has to be consistent. And you have to be a bit boring. Now, for us, let me tell you, for us, we find, oh God, doing that again, a next video about this, I'm saying the same thing different ways 20 times. That's fine. That's okay. It's okay that you're doing that. That's what people expect. A lot of engagement is based on expectation. People come to a Chinese restaurant to eat Chinese food. You know, they didn't come to a restaurant to get served curry chicken. You know, Chinese restaurant to get served curry chicken. And so if what you present is in alignment with who people know you to be over a period of time, then you can sustain the relationship. It's just like when you were courting Kim, right? If you were one way for the first 6 months of relationship and then somewhere down the line like, girl is a man who do so and so and so. I think she'll be shocked. She'll be, who is this person?
I tried that multiple times, but it didn't work out too good.
Who's this person who I pick up with? Yeah, you might be schizophrenic. And so you don't want your content to be schizophrenic. You don't want your business to seem schizophrenic. You want to be very consistent. And when you want to do a new enterprise, you build it up, you announce it, you start a new stream.
Right. I'm glad you went back to that who am I question, because I'm thinking about the small businesses that they enter a space like the baker. I'm sticking with that example.
Yes.
They enter a space like the baker and they're thinking that I know who I am, but I'm in a very saturated market. So how do you differentiate yourself? Because we have 1,000 cake businesses out there. How do you differentiate that self as what comes into the equation as part of that? Who am I to say, hey, this is a business worth paying attention to? What has been your experience?
Right. So that falls under the category of how what I does benefits people. So if you're into marketing and you're into branding, you would know that as your USP, your unique selling proposition. You have to find something about your business, obviously, that is slightly different. Doesn't have to be necessarily all different, but you have to say things in a way that really resonate with people. And so the way in which you discover how to be different is by finding out who you're talking to even more, like finding out who are the people who I'm really talking to and what are their needs, what do they want. And so what tends to happen is that when you find out what they want, then you're able to be very focused in what you say. And even though it's the same thing, the language you use, the way in which you communicate it, even sometimes the imagery or the things that go along with it can come across as different. There's a good and a bad thing. The bad thing is that in certain industries it's very difficult to differentiate. There are certain things you could do, especially in Trinidad and Tobago and in the Caribbean, that will make you stand out. And it's sad to say, but the chief of that is just have good service. It's not the price. It's just have really excellent customer service. Any business that does that follows up, that has good customer service, that treats the customer well, delivers what they say they're going to deliver in a timely fashion, and delivers quality, they're going to stand out immediately. Somebody like that, word of mouth will take them very far. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. What you have to do is be consistent with your marketing, be consistent with who am I, and really give on the back end very, very excellent customer service. If your demographic, I don't want to get in demographics, psychographics, and all those different things, but let's just suppose the people who you're talking to are in an age group, and you don't really only use this to determine who you're talking to, but let's just suppose they're in an age group of 45 and over, right? Like 45 to 65. Suppose that's the people you're talking to, that particular demographic. You know those people are not on TikTok, right? You know those people are not on this particular platform. You will create content on a different platform that they might be hanging out on. They might be jump on every now and again. You will create content for that particular platform. And so you begin to speak specifically to those people in that particular space based upon who you're talking to. And they might use a certain language. Like earlier on when you were here, I was very pleased because I used this example some days ago. You passed and you said, yeah, go be real cock. And I'm saying nobody born after the 90s will ever use that word. They will never use that word. They don't know what it means. But I, who was born in the 80s and grew up around certain types of dub and in certain areas, will know, well, cock is the same as lit or something now. And that's just language we used to use. I can't remember the last time somebody in earnest used the word cock to describe something that's good. And you just did that. So you being online speaking to my generation will use that language and I will immediately understand what you mean. If I were to come and say, yeah, bet, let me do so and so, which is an American term, but it just simply means I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. But somebody in the 45 and over demographic, they're going to get totally lost. They're not going to understand that, right? And so what you do is you are very specific about who you're talking to, and the way in which you talk to them, and the way in which they like to be, what their needs and the way in which they like to be spoken, how you can communicate those things. And if you do that, it makes it much, much easier for you to get your message across and to continue to build a relationship with them.
So when you agreed to come on the podcast, I reached out to my audience and asked if they had any questions. 2 comments were from small businesses who expressed dissatisfaction with Facebook ads.
Right.
Vintage Farmhouse and Breeze Sweet Treats. So I checked out their pages. They're posting consistently pictures, some with captions, videos with music, no faces, no dialogue. They're saying that the Facebook ads aren't working for them. And I was looking at the content, and just by you scrolling through the content was some things that you would recommend.
What I would say about Bree's page is that what Bree is showing is the end product. She is showing the cookies, she's showing the banana bread, she's showing the cakes, right? Which is fine. What she can do is show some of the process, show how she makes it, show what goes into it. Let her voice be heard as to the quality of it. Talk about how customers are satisfied. I was speaking with someone yesterday about their real estate business and giving them some advice about how they could be more active on social media. And they were saying like they are not interested in being on social media at all. And I was telling them, well, if you're not interested in being on social media, these 3 types of content might help. You want to post content when you are sharing that I have a new property for sale, right? You go in and you put the sign down and you share some of that content. You talk to people about the property and everything. That's one time you do it. The second time you do it is when you're closing. Property is closed, you're going to slap that sold sign on the thing and you show people. So that shows people you have things that are available, you have new properties for sale, and it shows people that you're in the business, you're doing new things. Second one shows that you're actually moving property, you're closing deals, it builds your credibility. And the third one is that you want the testimonials from the people. Like, what do they say about you? What are the things that they like about the process of dealing with you? If you can get them to speak on camera, or you can get them to write something, that's even better. And you get them to share that. So instead of just like saying 5,000 square foot land in Cunupia, that's a listing. What you want to do is you want to kind of show, you could walk around the land, you can say the slope is nice, this is what the neighborhood looks like. You know, you don't even have to show your face. You could just show, this is what you can narrate it. This is what the neighborhood looks like. You have access to amenities across here. When you actually sell it, just a little video of you walking up and you're slapping the sold sign on the sign shows that kind of like the deal is done, and you start to get comments from the people who you sell it to. Say, what do they plan to do with this? Well, in 2 years we plan to have a house on this land and thing. And what is the feeling behind it? So you don't just show the product. Say like, hey, look, I have a cake to sell, or hey, look, I'm making a table or a stool. You say you're in the woodworking shop and you're showing, you're standing and say, I'm using this varnish because this varnish is very good for XYZ, and you talk about it. You don't even have to be on camera, but then you start to interface with the people, they build the relationship. If you just show an end product, you're not building the relationship. You're just showing something that anybody else could show.
Thank you for putting into perspective something that I have known for so long, but it just never formalizes the way you say it. And what we're talking about here is storytelling. All too often, you come across small businesses, and one of the things that you notice is that they think this product has to be in a final state. This has to be perfected. I'm not going to take pictures of my cookies until I have that granite counter that I want in place. And then I'm not going to take pictures of the cookies until I have this type of plate. People, I realize, they're more interested in the storytelling aspect. In the past, I approached small businesses in terms of, like when I do food content or whatever. I'm like, hey, you're not interested in doing a video? Oh, my kitchen has to be at a certain stage. And I get that if it's in terms of like cleanliness or you want to have a certain thing. And then you talk to them, hey, I ain't really everything up to mark, but the kitchen ain't looking totally the way that I want. To use an example here, we do the family vlogs, home vlogs and whatnot. You will pull back videos in the past and you will see vinyl on the floor. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And then years later, people who connect with the content, they will say, hey, boy, they were able to raise a little piece of money, they were able to put down some tiles. Coming back to the farmer Harry, when we start the early videos, he was using a hand cutlass and swiper. Right. Part of the storytelling aspect is that the man have a Stilt 120 right now.
Yes.
Embrace storytelling. Thank you very much for that. On different social media platforms, you have different type of content you could create. You're big on live streaming. You're making these shorts. You're posting them on TikTok. So I'm aware that there's an arsenal of tools that you have.
Yeah.
If I had, as a small business owner, if I had to focus on one form of content, what type of content should I be making? Shorts, long form videos, live streaming?
So I'm going to give two answers. The proper answer is that you make content based upon who you want to talk to. You do your research, you find out what they like, you make content based upon what your customers are into, and you try to craft the content in that way. Second answer is a kind of two-parted. You make what you're kind of good at. For everybody who wants to make content, should at least try video. Video has the highest statistical engagement rates of all content. It's evidenced by what the platforms are doing. And if platforms are doing particular things, they're seeing the trend going in a particular direction, they will give preference to people who actually do that. Short form video is the way to go for most people. Long form video is a little more difficult, takes a lot more editing, takes a lot more time. Short form video, you can just use your phone and get started. You don't have to be a designer, you don't have to be a camera person, you don't have to be any massive editor. I could literally teach somebody how to make short form video in an hour. From scratch. Once they have a phone, all they need is a phone, somewhere to shoot, like a window, light coming in. You download CapCut, which is like the de facto short form editor on your phone. And within an hour, you could be posting videos. What do you want to talk about? What do you do? What are you good at? Oh, I'm good at this. Okay. What they did this morning when they went to work? Oh, we had to pack these things on shelves and organize them. All right, good. Let's make a video about that. So today I want to show you how to organize these things on shelves. And the person will show, first you start with A, and then they go B, and then they go C. And when they're done, you have a nice organized shelf. Check me for more content.
And it's fascinating how much people like to look and read about people working. A lot of times I've made videos with you, Farmer Harry, and it's just with all the fellas working, and I don't know what the fascination is with it. And again, these working in that storytelling aspect. When I first started Facebook, it was Facebook business pages. It was along the lines of pushing my books.
Right.
Just pictures.
Right.
Just posting, again, the run-of-mill content. Hey, look, my book.
Yes,
It's available for sale.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to the mall. Like a picture of a package I was presenting to people. And over for a number of years, that was probably somewhere like about 500-600 subscribers. No, it didn't even cross 500. When I turned my attention in 2018 to using videos and live streaming had just kind of become a thing on Facebook. I was doing some readings, and it was all in the sake of a competition. Today, through consistently posting videos that I would just pull out my cell phone, tape something, upload it, but it seemed to have some kind of strategic purpose behind it.
Yes.
That page is like probably approaching 8,500. We've gotten so much great value from you. Tell folks where they could find you and how they could work with you.
Right. So Relate Studios, we definitely can find us online. As you would have mentioned in the beginning, we are a strategic marketing and production company. So we do a lot of video. I would say we used to do a lot of photography before. Now I would say probably upwards of 80% of our work is video. And we are doing content strategy for people as well, because it goes along with the video we create. So we realize that sometimes people want videos, but they don't know how to use them. And so before you start to make stuff, you should have an idea of how you want to use this stuff. And so you can find us at relatestudios.com. You can find me, Juma Bannister, just anywhere on any platform is all the same. You'll always see a guy with a red background. That's because red is my thing, at least these days. Well, it's always been my thing, actually. I had a red bicycle when I was a kid.
Red is your thing. You still do wedding photography?
Yeah, we still do wedding photography. We're doing less of that now. I think the business, we're changing the structure of the business so that we can continue to serve people who want quality wedding photography, but which will free us up to do it in a different way. So that's something that we're currently working on. What we like to do now is do a lot of families, because we feel like family is very important, and we like to do family photography. For us, it's like you could come, do it in one day, capture some excellent images, and not necessarily one way where you stand up and you pose, but like if your family had like a game night, we come and we'll capture that and do some portraits while we're there. Or there's some family thing that's happening, we would love to do that too. So we still do weddings, not as much as before, but most of our work is commercial video and content strategy stuff and things of that nature.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to talk about in closing?
India and I, my business partner, we've been talking for a number of months about starting a podcast. I had a useful content creation show, which I'm going to start back. It's on hiatus now. It's on season 2 is finished. It's going to have season 3, but we're going to actually start a podcast, and our podcast is going to be about business marketing and creativity in the Caribbean. And we're going to just talk. We're going to talk about things that we like to talk about that we don't usually get to talk about, and probably going to have people on and different things. And that we are going to launch it on Ash Wednesday or something like that. We haven't recorded a single episode yet, but we decided on Monday it has to happen, and we have to record the first episode next week, Thursday, because we've been putting it off for too long. And I just think that we have to really this is the time to do it, and so yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I will put links to in the show notes, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you online. I've learned so much from you today, the value of networking, the framework that you shared, and I look forward to your podcast.
Yeah, I will be good. And at some point you could drop in, and Farmer Harry could drop in.
Yeah. That'll be great. Thanks so much, Juma.